Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And I'm Malik. And I got beef with a lake.
Malik.
And you won't understand what any of that means unless you go watch our latest fix, because I read a Senegalese folk story about Loch Rose that I found. And so we just read it, and JT now wants to be the guy who loses his girl to a lake.
Yeah. The lake was awfully salty about it.
Boo. Tomato, tomato, tomato.
I know.
We need to get some of those.
I know, seriously.
We
We just need a plant.
Tomatoes just to hurl.
That's what I'm going to do. My tomato plant is fruiting. I'm going to bring all of them in, and I'm just going to throw them at you.
And I will keep my mouth open.
But all right,
all
y'all.
that Senegalese salt to put on them.
That's true.
Yeah. Ooh, that's not a bad idea.
All right, y'all. So we have a ghost mail for you today, but first we have a couple of announcements. The Savannah Paranormal Museum is having its grand opening on May 1st. So, Chris, I'll let you talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, so we're finally at the place where we're going to have our grand opening. We'll be doing a ribbon cutting May 1st at 4:30 in the afternoon and running from that moment on with our full-time hours, Thursday through Sunday. And we're really excited. It's going to be a great fun time. The weekend is going to be full of just merriment and spooky spooks.
It's going to be a great time. Yeah. I think it's the applause.
I could hear cheering in the distance.
It is the applause.
Okay. Yeah, we can only vaguely hear the sound effects that come from his board, so we were hoping that was the case. But yeah, so if you're in the Low Country region or if you're making a trip to Savannah, definitely come check out the Savannah Paranormal Museum. And
we got the audio tour is up and running, so when you come in, you'll be able to listen to the audio tour. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's just a QR code, and it comes up on your phone, and you just
That's
listen.
so exciting.
Yeah,
It's very
really
exciting.
cool. It turned out really well.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, y'all. There's some very scary things.
Trish is going to the museum May 9th.
Very
Excellent.
nice.
We will see you then.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'll show you the studio, Trisha.
Yes. And
Speaking of which, we need to get a poster for the outside of the studio door.
We can do that. We can
all
make
right
that
then.
work.
And there we go. But other than that, y'all, since now that the museum is kind of at its finished stage, we've been doing investigations in it. So 2 weeks ago, as of when we are filming this, we did an investigation where it was just JT, Debris, and I. And we did that to see how it differed from when Chris wasn't here because he was out of town. And then we're going to be doing another one this Saturday, which is what date?
The 26th?
The 26th.
Yes,
I believe.
Yes. So we are going to be going live for that investigation with Chris, and we're going to compare and contrast. So that is going to be for the Parajunkies only. That is going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be a lot of fun. The last one was very active. I got very sick from it. So
We
Charlotte
did an
lived up to her
impromptu
claim.
one last
Yeah.
night, and we had some amazing interactions with Emeraldine. Actually,
Emeraldine.
They're very chatty.
They are. They're chatty. We actually were using the RIM pod, and we were told that there's a song that she particularly likes, and so I was pulling it up, and I was about to hit play, and Megan says, "Do you like this song?" I hit play, and the RIM pod went off and stayed on, like high pitched, like bee, the entire song.
Wow.
And then when the song was over, off.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was insane.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
So yeah, if you want to see that happen, you know where to find us over on Patreon, because we're going to have a lot more investigations coming up in the near future.
And when you're listening to this, it's already happened, so you can sign on to Patreon
and watch it. Yeah. Yeah, and we love doing the investigations live because sometimes the people who are watching from home can see things that we don't see, or they catch different details that we might not have picked up on. So it's always a good time. But speaking of Parajunkies, we have a few new ones that we would like to thank. So we want to thank Annette, Ghosting Girl, Kendra, Taylor, Raven, and Kristen. So thank y'all so much for becoming Parajunkies, and hopefully you will join us on the investigation. So yeah, but other than that, y'all, I think that's all of our announcements for today. So let's go ahead and get into our ghost mail. JT?
Terrifying.
Ooh.
The sad thing is that's the announcement on the computer every time we get ghost mail, and so it happens 5 times a day. It's very annoying. Turns the lights off.
Yeah,
can't get any work done.
It's just a hard time working in here, but nevertheless. So let's start out with actually a follow-up story. We love when y'all send in extra details after we read this story. So this one comes from Nyx, and I'm going to read the portion. It was a very long story with different parts. So I'm going to read the portion that I think pertains to the information that was sent in. So if you want to listen to this whole story, it's going to be in a later ghost mail. But so it starts out with, fast forward to after we were married and moved into our first house. So this is Nyx and their partner. It was a small bungalow with a basement. The neighbors all said our house was haunted, but I dismissed it as I never felt anything scary there, and they never offered any evidence, as they do. My mom was creeped out by the basement because there was old medical equipment on the walls left behind from the previous owners, as your mom should be suspicious of, because who do those types of things? Serial killers.
Serial killers. Absolutely.
So, she didn't like how she felt there, but couldn't explain. I soon found out what they all meant after we got pregnant and had our twins. Our 80-pound dog would growl as he was looking down the basement and never wanted the babies to go near the stairs. Not sure if he was protecting them from the stairs or the basement itself, even with the baby gate there. One evening, my husband had one of the babies on his lap in the recliner, and I was on the couch with the other twin. We were watching TV when all of a sudden my dog jumped up and began growling at my husband and the baby. This was completely out of character for him. The hairs on his back stood up straight, and he backed himself onto my lap, forcing me to hold my daughter to the side of me. At first, I thought it was because my husband had his hood on his head trying to take a nap, but then I realized he was staring at the wall above the chair with them in it. It was almost like someone was standing over them and looking down. Another time I was videotaping the twins on the floor laughing as I was tickling them, which is the video that we are going to watch in just a second. And when I looked back at the video, I could hear a voice say, "Aw," next to the camera. I only showed the video to a few people, and when I looked back at the video, I could hear a voice saying that, one, because I was embarrassed of the baby talk I was spewing, and two, the TV was in the background, and skeptics would easily dismiss it. I know what I heard, though, and I know it wasn't the TV. I have the video as validation for myself. The other incident that even my skeptical husband couldn't explain was when we were again sitting in the living room watching TV with the twins. So we're going to stop there just because we have read this story and we're mostly pertaining to that video with the tickling. So I'm going to jump to the second email. So the follow-up said, "Hi, here's a link to the video I told you about in my last Ghostmail," so the tickling video. "I would have too many people not believing me because the TV was on, but this voice sounded right next to me, and it was just the twin and I alone that day. This is more just verification for me. You hear it at 15 seconds in, say, 'Aw.' This was at our first house. I'd also like to add that I ran into 2 old neighbors from our second house, the poltergeist one, years after we moved out. I saw them at different times, and they both said weird stuff happened in both their houses as well. It makes me think it was a haunting connected to the land." I forgot to add that in the last email. Thanks again. Well, just speaking about the land haunting, I mean, if multiple houses are having similar experiences, you're probably right on that regard. That there's something that is attached to the land and it has a little bit more free reign to move about the cabin, if you will. But yes, so we'll start with the baby video, though. Very cute.
Do you have it on the iPad?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna switch HDMI's then.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
All right. We're going to pause for a brief second to play this video. And for those of you who are just listening, the video is of 2 very cute little babies, and they are laying on the floor. So we shall see what happens. And we're looking for the word awe at 15 seconds.
All right. All right. 1 second. Boop. All right, here we go. Yeah.
Okay. Am I allowed to play it?
Yep.
Okay.
It wasn't that awe, was it?
Yeah, I don't
It sounded like his awe.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me go to 15 seconds.
8, 10, 14. This is 14.
Yeah.
No, that's very clear. But I would have thought that was
that
was the person tickling.
Yeah.
I would not have thought that it was not the person tickling.
That's very clear.
That's very clear, very loud. Like, that is not the TV. That is definitely into the microphone of the camera. If that is not the voice of the person tickling, then
super creepy.
That's super, super creepy. I mean, so very solidly an awe.
Yeah, because I mean, I did hear it in the first time, but I assumed that was like maybe another person who was there. But yeah, that is insane. I'm gonna play it one more time just because. Okay, we'll start at 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And I mean, like, the thing is like that totally can happen. It's just so strange that it's so clear, because usually when you pick up voices on video that seem paranormal, there is a little bit of a wispiness to
Right.
it.
They seem distant or removed somehow.
It's just that has to be a very potent spirit in your house. And I mean, like, just remembering some of the details from your story that you told, it seemed like it was a very active and strong spirit. So that's not shocking that you would get a really clear voice through it, but nonetheless, just wild. Yeah, I mean, I believe you on that one. And I do understand why you would say some people would think that's the TV, but it's like you can hear in the background the TV sounds staticky and distant.
Removed and distant, yeah.
But that is straight up like a person standing next to you. That is absolutely insane. And thank you so much for sending that in. Yeah, we always love to get additional details if you ever have them, if you send in ghost mail stories. So thank you, Nix. We appreciate that. Also, y'all, before we get into the next story, if you have a ghost mail that you would like to send to us, you can send it to ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com. And do make sure to put ghost mail in the subject, or if you want to title it something, make sure we can differentiate it, because we do also get some for Ghost Con and Camera as well. So we want to make sure we're getting everybody in order. But all right. So our next one was titled Ghost Mail Hot Dogs.
Hot dogs.
So I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in.
I'm
All
in.
right.
Let's do it.
It doesn't take much.
Ghost mail and hot dogs.
All right.
It's not bone marrow, but
It's not bone marrow. So this one comes from Michelle. Hi, I wanted to finally pull the trigger and share my spooky story. It isn't the most exciting, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. First of all, I discovered your podcast back in September, and I've been a fan ever since. So thank you very much, Michelle. We appreciate it. I love listening to the ghost mails while at work. I even share some stories to my coworkers who eat it up every time. Their favorite is the girl in the return air vent story. We work in HVAC, LMA.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's understandable. It's so exciting to hear you guys are starting up a haunted object museum. As a Seattleite, Southern spooks have always intrigued me. A Georgia trip is on my bucket list, and your museum will no doubt be my first stop. And no, we did not pick this particular email for this announcement that we had today.
Convenient.
No, really.
No, please speak more about the museum.
No, we really we do read these in order. So this is just a nice coinky dink.
Winky dink.
Thank you, Michelle, for that. All right, here it is. I find it more silly than anything, but the coincidences give me this gut feeling that there was something else maybe going on. My grandfather died a year or two before I was born. I've never been told I look like him, never had any dreams about him, never been told I have the same mannerisms as him, and in general, we haven't been very spiritually connected, except this one time. A weird quirk about him, he loved cold, uncooked hot dogs and a cold tortilla.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
That is something else.
That is something so specific.
Yeah. What happened where he was like, that's it. This is God's blessing to
I had a
this
friend
earth.
who was just crazy about Vienna sausages.
I loved
You remember?
Vienna sausages, so
But Vienna sausage was just a cut up hot dog in a little tin covered in goo.
it's glorious.
Goo covered hot dog tin. Tin of hot dog goo. Goo.
Yum.
Anyway.
Yes, my grandfather who grew up in the Depression put me onto Vienna sausages,
Well, there you
and
go,
I think
see?
everybody should try them once in their lives.
They are
It's an experience.
they're apocalyptic hot dogs is what they are.
They really are.
Well, Michelle's grandfather loved cold, uncooked hot dogs
Sure.
and a cold tortilla.
That's crazy. No condiments?
No condiments, no toppings, just dog.
Just dog.
And that was exactly how it was spelled, dog.
Dog. Just dog. Bring it.
Don't ask me why, but nevertheless, a very specific snack that I don't think many people in their adult age go out of their way to eat and enjoy on the reg.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
I was 2 or 3 years old, so I have zero memory of doing this. Me, my mom, and my uncle were walking into my grandmother's house from running errands. And so casually, it looked creepy. I walked into the kitchen and nonchalantly grabbed a cold tortilla, a cold hot dog, a plate, a napkin, made my way to the table, and went to town on it.
Wow. Okay.
According to my mom and my uncle, I was acting as if I had done it a million times before and acted as if I was him. I wrapped the hot dog the same way in casual ease that he did. I sat his chair, walked with his stride, had the same facial expressions that he had. I've never had that snack before and never asked for it again. My mom and uncle stood in bewilderment, as would I if I were in their
No kidding.
position,
That would be so
Bewilderment.
bizarre.
as if their dad rose from the grave not to give a final goodbye or say some wise words, but to make a final dog.
Final dog.
Final dog.
Maybe
I like
you-
that. We need a sound effect for that. Final dog.
It's an air horn.
Yeah.
I've been air horning.
They tried their best to brush it off, but my behavior was so similar to his that they could never shake it off, even to this day. I've never had a moment like this since and have never had any other encounter that specifically reminds or connects me to him. Again, this is a really silly, spooky story that makes me laugh every time and thought it would be perfect to share with y'all. LOL.
I love it.
Might
Yeah, no, that's
I love it
fantastic.
too. Might be nothing. It's not.
No,
but
it's something.
But the
That's
mannerisms I apparently had and the specifics of the snack required might be something. Who knows? Thoughts on spooky hot dogs? At the very least, it
Hot
gives
dogs
me.
can be very terrifying if you think about them too
Yeah,
much.
well, yeah. If you
Yeah.
if you think too hard of how they're made, you don't need
Yeah.
to. It gives you a chill down your spine.
There you
Chill
go.
down your spine. Although it is very interesting to think that you were probably being the youngest familial element after the grandfather's death. The connection there is sometimes that tenuous. You were the new life that came in. He was the old life that went out. And that bond makes a lot of sense. And it kind of cracks me up to think that it was a final dog. It was
Yeah.
literally like, I could go for a dog and a tortilla. Grab the tortilla. I'm gonna experience this vicariously through you.
That made me think about something.
Uh-oh.
That made me think about something. Maybe he chose her because her young stomach could handle it, and he didn't want to. He didn't want to like to mess the other family.
Well, I even
members
think
up.
that it's more that, and we talk about this all the time. Young children are just more sensitive and susceptible, and are easier for spirits to communicate with. They don't have the same guards in place. They don't have the same their mental shield is not in place. So yeah, it kind of makes this sense that if he was going to reach out to anyone, it makes sense that it would be the youngest.
Yeah.
Right.
10 years ago, when I was 20, I could pass that dog like it was nothing. But now, if I eat like 2-3 dogs, I feel it the next day.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen.
This has gotten out of hand.
I mean, what it sounds like is that your grandfather straight up said they don't make it right over here in the afterlife, so
Right.
I'm having a hankering for a cold dog.
Oh, yeah.
And Alex said the only potted meats, which is my favorite phrase,
Yes.
potted meats
I've
ever had in my life was Spam, and my dad loved corned beef hash.
So we're spam people.
Yeah.
We love spam.
Yeah.
Yeah, little
We
do
enjoy
y'all
spam.
know, Megan, Chris's wife, and I go hard on spam. Once a month at the Korean barbecue.
Yep.
If
We have
you've never done
spam for all.
Spam for all.
if you've never done it, you need to. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, honestly, Michelle, I love that story. That's a great story.
It was, yeah.
Fantastic.
That's wild.
All right, then. Well, thank you, Michelle. And going with, weirdly enough, where a hot dog would be. The haunted gas station is
Oh,
next.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
That is where the haunted tortilla wrapped hot dog would be.
no kidding. Now, I
Yeah.
will say that I have many times just wrapped a hot dog in a tortilla and thrown it in the microwave for 30 seconds. It's
So
a very easy, quick, get a hot dog in my face kind of
Yeah.
situation.
So you like the same thing, just
yeah,
hot.
I do like it. Cold hot dog.
Cold hot dogs, no.
Although
I got to have it
let's face
grilled.
it, all a cold hot dog is a very skinny bologna.
Yeah.
So
I guess so.
it's not offensive, but I need my hot dogs to be hot.
Yeah. What about spam? Could you do spam?
I can't cold spam.
You can't do cold spam?
No, it needs to be warm.
It has to be warmed and ideally seared. Like
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
crust that spam gets on it.
Crustiness.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm hungry.
Now
You know
want
where I
spam.
see spam a lot?
What? In
Theater.
Oh my god! I knew that's where you were going with that.
Yep. Those tomatoes would be handy right about now.
Tomato.
Yum, yum.
Debria's gonna edit this, and she's gonna probably put in tomato effects throwing at you at
Oh,
your
boy.
image. Yeah.
And by you saying that, she's like at 2 a.m. editing this. And it's like, damn it. Because now she's got to go find tomatoes.
And my last point on the spam before we move to the haunted gas station, solely because Fabs mentioned it, musubi for life.
yes.
Spam musubi is one of my
dude.
favorite delicacies on this earth.
Yes.
So good.
We just got a place in town that makes them.
Honestly, we'll do fine in the apocalypse, everybody. Yeah, we're going to be okay.
Spam lasts forever.
Yes. All right, so on to the haunted gas station. Howdy, y'all. Brad here once again. This time with related shenanigans from the beyond. We all love those, right? We sure do, Brad. This might be a wee bit long, which is fine. I'm here for a long haunted gas station story.
Bring it.
Okay, I work at a chain gas station just off the interstate here in Georgia, located near a couple of motels and a truck stop, so there's a lot of going on.
Sure.
Which I'm pretty sure gives off a lot of energy. I would agree with you on
Facts.
that. Yeah. When I started here just over a year ago, I worked overnight from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. During those hours, the office door was locked. Several times I would hear knocking from inside the locked door. When the general manager would arrive the next morning and unlock the office, it was, of course, empty. This happened at random, as well as the sound of someone setting something on the counter when no one was there. Sometimes the entrance door would chime to let me know someone has entered, but there wouldn't be anyone. I would ask for whoever it was to do it again, but then it would stop for a few days, almost like it was offended that I wasn't unnerved. Well, I ended up promoted to assistant manager pretty quickly and had to leave the the overnight shift. My replacement asked about weird things she would hear, and so I told her my tale. I recommended not being afraid unless they wanted things to escalate. After a few weeks, once I started getting a few ghost hunting tools together, I brought in a spirit box and got the name Opal. Opal never seemed to be malicious in any way, but liked playing with people. She would occasionally open a cooler door or the men's room door, like making the coin acceptor on the condom dispenser rattle, not speculating on Opal's mood here, and once tossed a Reese's peanut butter egg at a customer.
Wow.
That's
That's my
Opal.
type of haunting.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't be offended. I'd be like, thank you.
You'd open your mouth like me and a tomato.
I love Reese's peanut butter eggs. They're great.
they are.
so good.
Then the renovation started.
Uh-oh.
Opal was not pleased.
This is not good.
No, that's never a good sign. The front door would randomly start to rattle in the frame. A bundle of wire would swing 4 inches to the right into a metal fuse box, and an electric fly swatter flew from the top of an 8-foot storage cabinet into the counter between a customer and the cashier, then rocketed off the counter onto the floor. The customer decided he didn't need cigarettes that bad after all. The last day before the renovation, I was alone in the store. I said something along the lines of, Opal, I know you're not happy. I know these changes here aren't something you're okay with, but neither you nor I can really stop it. But it's only for a few weeks, and then you'll have new toys in here to play with. Just please stay calm and don't freak out the construction crew too much, okay?
She's like, no promises.
So far, she's been calm.
Nice.
I did see the beer cave door open last night after everyone was gone. There's still 3 weeks left of the renovation, so we'll see. Well, sorry it's so long. It was not, honestly.
No, it was great.
No,
I need a whole Opal sitcom.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Set a camera up on your security system. Let's see some if you can catch Opal on tape.
Honestly, that's a fantastic story. And
Yeah.
honestly, not a place that you would typically expect to be haunted, but it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean,
And people don't realize like places of transit, like motels, hotels, places where people have very fly-by-night experiences. They're just there for a few moments. It kind of builds this very intricate web of energy, a very specific type of energy. It's an energy that allows for transient spirits to kind of feel welcome, because it's basically saying you don't have to stay forever. You're not trapped here. You're not, and there's something very welcoming. And being the all-night food and beverage mart in the dark, kind of, makes sense that a ghost would be like, that's where I want to be. Outside of her dying in the building or, something of that nature.
Yeah, and I mean, it could have been anywhere. It could have been that, I don't know if the gas station was something different before it was a gas station, or if something stood on the property. There's a number of reasons why she'd be there. But, I mean, if she's a prankster type of ghost and that's how she's choosing to live her afterlife, it feels like it's an appropriate place for her to be, in my opinion. But I love it. I want to hear more Opal stories.
Yeah,
so,
I need more
keep us
Opal
up.
content.
Yeah. So, Brad.
Well, I mean, let us know where it is. We can come. I would love to.
We come investigate.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'd be cool.
Investigate
It's
a
in
gas
Georgia.
station.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's Georgia. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
We wouldn't have to bring snacks.
yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Opal
You know
will
what?
just throw the snack at you.
Just get a bunch of peanut butter eggs.
I'm gonna email him. Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, JT is going to try to get us into this haunted gas station. So stay tuned for that.
I'm pretty
for that.
persistent, y'all.
But alrighty, y'all. So Brad, yes, please, if you have any more encounters or if you get anything on film or any kind of evidence, please send us Opal content.
Oh,
We
yeah,
will
please.
happily indulge. But alrighty. So this one was entitled "My Dead Grandfather Tried to Connect and I Scared Him Off."
Oh,
So this is either going to be really funny or really sad. I don't know which one it's going to be.
it's hard to tell.
I hope it's funny. So we're going with a theme of
We have
funny,
3 for 3.
funny dead grandfathers. But all right. Hello, Haunted City kids. That's us. We're the Haunted
That's
City
us.
kids.
I like that.
Feel like
We can
that-
have our own Saturday morning cartoon. The
Yeah.
Haunted City Kids. Da, 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 da.
I feel like we need varsity jackets for that title. I thought I'd write a quick email to ask for your opinion and hopefully some tips or guidance. We will try our best. My grandfather passed of a heart attack when I was 4 years old, but we were very close. Even though my memories of him are hazy since he died when I was so young, he is spoken of often among our family, and one of the most endearing points made is how much he loved me and how close he and I were. I am now in my 40s. However, when I was around 9 to 10 years old, he appeared to me as a fully formed apparition, and I've been trying to get him to come back ever since. My bedroom was exactly opposite from the guest bathroom, and one morning I was sitting up in bed, delaying getting ready for school. I looked up, and standing in the bathroom, leaning over the sink, was my grandfather. He looked up at me and smiled and was gone. I credit that experience with starting my fascination with the other side and began trying to find a way for him to visit me again. I saw Sylvia Brown on the Montel Williams show. I told you I was old. No, not at all. And followed her advice one night. And in trying to get my grandfather to return, her advice being to lay quietly, almost in a meditative state, and focus my thoughts and energy on him while repeating to myself that I want to see him. After about 15 minutes of focusing all my energy into it, I felt the side of my bed sink in slightly, like someone was sitting next to me on the bed. Of course, there was no one there, but it freaked me out, and as soon as it was there, it was gone again. Since that day, I've never been able to get him to come back. I've tried more times than I can count, especially now that I'm an adult and don't scare quite as easily. But I wonder if I scared him off since I was so rattled from the experience and probably screamed as much in the moment. I've never had a dream visitation from him that I know of, or any other encounters that even remotely make me wonder if it was a hello from him. My question is there anything different I can try to get a visitation from him? Thanks, from the West Coast. So that's a tricky one. What more than likely is happening is I am in the the belief that there gets to be a point when someone has passed on long enough that they don't need to come and revisit as much. Sure. Which I know is not always what people want, because that's the hardest part about grief, I think, is missing the space that somebody took up. And especially because you were so young when it happened, I can totally understand why, it would be difficult. But I think the encounters that you had, especially because you were young, were more so your grandfather trying to comfort you in a way and show you like, hey, I'm still watching over you. I'm still present. But now that you're older, it might be that there's less and less of I'm trying to put this in the right way. Like, I think it's more so that there's less and less of a need to come back for comfort. Because I'm under the impression that it takes a lot of energy for these spirits to come back for visitations. And so it's as long as you're healed, it might be that your grandfather is trying to say, it's okay. We'll see each other again one day. And there might not be anything you can do. Because that's the unfortunate part of things is we can put out the call, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get an answer, if that makes sense. But,
and also worth examining is expectation, because there's a chance that you might be trying to replicate something and that diminishes your focus. When you're thinking about trying to achieve a very specific thing, you have something in your mind, you know exactly what it is. If you're trying to re-achieve something that you got before, sometimes it's about letting go. Sometimes it's about being more open, because the communication may not be the same. It may not be the sitting on the bed. It may not be the presence that you're thinking. And sometimes we miss cues and we miss messages because we are so kind of consumed with the notion of how the message is going to come through. If you're always thinking that somebody is going to come through as a cardinal, and you keep looking out the window for cardinals, and you keep looking out the window for cardinals, not noticing that there's always this black moth that is floating around, or that there's always like a single feather on your doorstep, or things like that, we do tend to create patterns in our minds. And if the phenomenon doesn't meet the pattern, we kind of get disappointed, or we just don't notice it. So maybe broaden your expectation of what communication looks like, because maybe it's just a question of you're trying too hard. Maybe you need to let all those guards down, let all those expectations go.
And I think it also might be worth noting as well, you might not be getting the validation that you want, but there are ways that you can feel the presence of your grandfather without necessarily having a very tangible paranormal experience. I mean, you could leave out a photo and have like a nice dinner where you have a place setting for him. That's a really common practice that people do to honor their loved ones who have passed on.
Sure.
And it makes them feel like they're a part of the function, or if you wanted to do that for yourself and it's just something for your own personal benefit, I think that could be something helpful as well, because it helps at least ease the gap of that missing presence, if that makes sense. And I think that might be something at least helpful in the meantime. And hopefully you do get some type of validation in the future. I would also recommend, if you do feel inclined that you might be receiving some type of dream message, leaving a notebook by your bed and writing down different details that you remember from your dream and see if there's any kind of correlation. And then after that, maybe you can ask for a confirmation if that is if that is your grandfather, maybe bringing some type of sign to you. Just worth noting. And it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, unfortunately there is no prescription for it. There are lots of methods that lots of people choose, and there's nothing suggesting that one is particularly more effective than the other, and it's oftentimes personal. It oftentimes is what works for you best. So yeah, There's no straight up. Well, if you do A, then B and C will happen.
Right. Yeah, grief is a hard thing. It really is. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely dive into figuring out what would make you feel close to your grandfather in some way. But we really appreciate, though, you reaching out to us. We love getting these kinds of questions and stuff because they're always very thought-provoking, for sure. But JT, do we have time for another ghost story?
We have room for one more.
All right. Fantastic. All right. It's just a photo. Okay. There is no... Okay.
We'll save that one for the next. If it's a photo, I don't
Yeah.
have it programmed in, so we'll save that one for the next ghost mail.
Okay.
So
All right. Sounds good then. All right. Let me find another one. Okay. So let me make sure. Okay. So this one comes from Kyla, and it is entitled, I Had a Revelation.
Yay!
So, hey, y'all. Longtime listener, third-time caller. So thank you. Thank you so much, Kyla. I've written in before about my sleep paralysis and my son collecting pine cones for fairies.
Oh, yes.
I was just listening to the last episode where you had your skeptic friend Bill on and how he referred to himself as something along the line of a realist. And it got me thinking about something that happened while I was in college and made me realize something. Bill would love to hear that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
he made you think about something. I was a sophomore in college and was living in my first apartment with my best friend and his partner. We had lived in this apartment for a few months with no issues at all. The only weird thing that really happened was the front door would randomly open on its own, but we just assumed it was wasn't latched properly, and the wind had blown it open. Whenever this would happen, I would jokingly say, "Come on in." Knowing what I know now, thanks to the podcast, probably not the best idea. I would regularly go home on weekends to be with my family while my roommates would stay behind and had the place to themselves. One weekend, my best friend calls me to tell me he and his partner woke up to the front door wide open. I asked what they did the night before, to which he said they were out partying and came home late. I said, well, that explains it. You probably didn't push the door hard enough to latch properly and it blew open with the wind. He swore that wasn't the case, but I wasn't hearing any of it. Well, fast forward a couple of months, and I had woken up one morning to find the front door wide open. I panicked not only because the door was open, but because it was open and we lived in a city notorious for not being the safest in our state. But I knew the door was closed and locked before I went to bed. I always checked to make sure it was closed and locked before going to bed. I went to close the door, and when I did, I saw the little latch thing for the doorknob jiggling as if someone was pushing it in with their finger.
Oh.
I stared at it for a minute, audibly said, I didn't see that, closed the door, and went to question my roommates. They were both home and both swore they didn't mess with the door or leave after I had checked it and gone to bed or before I'd gotten up. A few other things happened, mainly with my roommates claiming to see and experience things. Only claimed to have seen a floating face in our kitchen, again, while I was away. He said he was watching Buffy in the dark on his computer, looked up in time to see it and watch it fade away. I told him it was the last image he saw on screen superimposed on his eyes, even though he swore it wasn't. He also claimed that something pushed him off the toilet another time. My other roommate said he was doing dishes while my friend and I were out and saw the bottle float up and then back down right in front of him. I said it must have been the vibration from the garage or the garbage disposal. At every turn, I denied and offered alternative explanations because, one, even though I like spooky things, I do not want spooky things to happen to me. And two, it wasn't happening to me, so I couldn't fully believe it. And then I wondered why it wasn't happening to me. And then I realized I wasn't feeding them. They probably tested me with the door, and when I literally, nope, they figured I was a waste of time.
Ghosts.
That's true. I also never got any creepy feelings from the apartment either. Also, while I have you here, I thought I'd mention a quick UFO story. It was in Colorado, still in college, and with the same roommates as the story above. We were laying down in the front yard of my mom's house, looking up at the stars, and in the corner of my eye, I see this light that I at first thought was an airplane. But then it did a super quick turn and started moving back in the direction it came from. I said nothing. And then my best friend said, "Whoa, did you see that?" I said, "Maybe, but tell me what you saw first." He described exactly what I had just seen. So that is the quick story of my first potential UFO sighting. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. I love that you guys have made a safe space for others to tell their stories without judgment, no matter how spooky. Love y'all, Kyla.
That was great.
That was very good. Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting. I think you're right, though, in the way that it did test you and you were not giving the response that I wanted.
Right. We definitely talk about that. Ghosts do not want to spend time expending their energy on somebody who's not going to participate.
Right. Yeah, it's that's a super common experience, but yeah, I don't think what you had, just going off of the general vibes of what you said, it doesn't sound like it was anything malevolent. More than likely, it was either some kind of like poltergeist activity or just a trickster spirit, something that's looking for attention.
Right.
And so a great way, it probably recognizes that your roommates fear when the doors open. Right. So
their reactions are, yeah.
Exactly. That's enough to make it continue doing it over and over again. The face situation is really weird.
Don't like that.
That was the only one that I was like, oh, that's a little strange. Just because of the fact, I don't know if that was just a one-off experience of a totally different entity, or if that maybe was it trying to manifest. But that was the only one where I was like, this is a little bizarre. But as long as y'all weren't hurt, I mean, it's just a fun, spooky story at that point, Do you have any opinions on that, Chris?
No, I think that's a pretty good summation of it. I do love your UFO story as well.
I love that. That's so good.
It has all the classic, components. Because I waver on my UFO, whether or not I had one, but the only thing I could never explain was the sudden change of direction. Mm-hmm. There was something flying in the sky and it made a check mark. Ooh. But it was it had a long flaming trail like a meteor. So I was like a shooting star, but it was so low that I could see the trail for a long time. But then it check marked. It changed direction. And I was like, what could have done that? What, is there a natural phenomenon? I can't think of one. Is there a machine that can do that? And I couldn't even come up with that because it created a V in the sky that stayed, like the fire just slowly faded out, but you could see this clear V from when it took a almost 130-degree turn.
It was telling its partners that they planted the seeds and this planet has been checked off.
Yes.
Come and get them.
Come and get them.
Harvest time.
Harvest time.
But
they're all fat and squishy. Come and eat them.
Oh, yes. Everybody loves the squishy American. It's delicious.
Cold hot dogs.
Cold hot dogs.
That's literally it. I bet that's what we taste like.
Cold hot dogs.
All right. Well, thanks y'all so much for sending in your ghost stories. This was a great little bunch. We had comedy, we had seriousness, we had ghosts and aliens.
We had Opal.
We had Opal.
Opal. We were introduced to Opal. Now I need to know more about Opal.
I sent the email.
She's like a diner waitress.
Yes, absolutely.
And she works late hours and comes into the food stop, on her way home in the wee hours in the morning.
Opal's just doing what everybody wants to do, but they can't get away with.
Yup.
I think we can get away with throwing Reese's eggs at people.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's our offering to Opal at the gas station. If we can, if Brad,
we'll bring a variety of Reese's,
and we'll take a moment to just acknowledge that the reason why Reese's peanut butter eggs are so good is the ratio of peanut butter to chocolate is different than a cup. Because in a cup you get like a sliver of peanut butter on the chocolate, but in an egg you get like a spoonful of peanut butter
Yeah.
encased in chocolate. And so you get this more peanut buttery experience.
Yeah. The only other ones that rival are the jack-o'-lanterns.
The jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lantern.
Which I think are just mushed eggs, really.
Yeah.
Here's the egg, here's the jack-o'-lantern.
That's okay, though. I like the vibe, at least. But
yeah.
anyways, nonetheless.
If he responds in the affirmative, I will post it on Patreon.
Cool. Yeah, so hopefully we'll go investigate a haunted gas station. That would be fun. But
That would be like a first.
that would be super
I
good.
would enjoy it.
I would enjoy that as well.
Nothing makes ghost hunting easier than Slim Jims.
The only thing
true.
that I think would stop us is like if it's like a Circle K and they're like, hell no.
Right. Well, I mean, he did say it's a chain gas station.
It is a chain gas
but
station,
you never
so-
know.
Yeah.
The
We'll
owner.
just blur everything out.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
lot of blurring.
A lot of
But,
blurring.
Yeah, Debris will handle it. It's okay.
but anywho,
You hear that, Debria?
so we want tomatoes and blurred gas stations. Thank you.
Thank you. Every product needs to be blurred out.
Yes. But alrighty, y'all. So now that we have reached our delirium state, we'll go ahead and close this on out. But yes, thank you again for watching this or listening whenever you are doing so. And if you have a ghost story you would like to send us, like I said at the beginning, you can send it to us at ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com. And we also love getting ghost photos. And if you're going to do that, send it as ghost caught on camera in the subject.
Woo woo.
But with that, though, my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.